Welcome. I'm Katie, your host, and I'm a Mickaboo volunteer, just like all the people presenting and producing today's virtual adoption fair. Before we begin, let me tell you just a little bit about Mickaboo Companion Bird Rescue. We are a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to companion birds. We focus on education about their care and on their rescue and adoption. We're a virtual volunteer-based organization with about 500 birds in foster homes throughout the greater Bay Area. We have the veterinary bills to match, averaging $50,000 a month. There are a few reasons why these costs are so high. One, newly arrived birds often require medical attention due to previous neglect, failing health, accidents, injury from other pets, or trauma that they may have accrued during time as strays. Two, some of our birds have chronic medical conditions which may require long-term veterinary or even hospice care. Three, we provide veterinary care as needed for all of our foster birds, and with so many, somebody always needs to go to the vet. We rely on donations to be able to serve the birds. So if you are able to help, please do consider donating. I'll provide information about that again at the end of this event. Now, let's talk for a moment about the adoption and foster process. So fostering is a volunteer activity, and adoption is, we hope, permanent. The same process qualifies you to do both. And if you foster, you can adopt your foster bird. I want to let you know right up front that becoming qualified to foster and adopt takes some time. It's not like going to the shelter and coming home with a pet the same day. The approval process generally takes about 8 to 10 weeks, although it varies depending on your circumstances. During that time, we will get to know you and your situation, carefully review what we learn, and help you to make an educated decision about what kind of bird may be right for you. If at any point during the process you feel like you haven't heard from us, please do reach out. So how does the process go? As you see here, it begins with a basic bird care class. Parrots require a lot from their human companions. So in the class, we cover behavior, health and well-being, feeding, care, and other topics that will help ensure birds thrive in your home. We'll touch on some of those topics during today's adoption fair. After taking the class, the next step is to fill out an application. Then we'll contact you to schedule a phone screen. The phone screen helps us to better understand you and what you're looking for, and your understanding of birds and bird care. It's also an opportunity for you to ask us any questions you might have. The next step is the home visit, which may be virtual or in person. Either way, the home visit itself is the same. We will help you identify potential dangers to birds and find a good place for a cage. We don't need to meet the entire household, although we'll want to meet anyone who will be caring for the bird and to see any birds in cages you currently have, as well as any other pets and the parts of the house where the bird will be. Currently, this is the part of the process that takes the longest to coordinate. You can expect to wait several weeks. Once your home visit is completed, everything is sent to the approvals board for review and consideration. It's possible that we may ask you to make specific changes or improvements based on your application, phone screen, and home visit. Once you're approved, you'll be put in contact with a species coordinator who can work with you to find a bird or birds that are a good match for you. You'll be able to talk with the foster parent for the bird, meet the bird over Zoom, and potentially meet the bird in person before making a decision. The specific arrangements will depend on what you and the foster home are comfortable with. Today, we're going to meet 6 Mickaboo birds who are seeking forever homes. Petey, a lesser sulfur-crested cockatoo. Michael, a cockatiel. Timeo, or Timmy, an Indian ringneck. Tequila, a green cheek conure. And Emerson and Finley, 2 wild flock conures. All of these birds are joining us via pre-recorded videos and will have live conversations with their foster homes. As we go, please type any questions about the birds into the Q&A tab in Zoom, or if you're watching on Facebook, just comment on the video live stream. We'll answer your questions as we go. And now let's meet our first bird of the day, Petey, a lesser sulfur-crested cockatoo. Hi, Sophia. Can you
Hi.
introduce us to this cockatoo?
Yes, this is Petey. He's a lesser sulfur crested cockatoo, like you said, and he is 24 years old. And lesser sulfur crested are a smaller size cockatoo. They're a little bigger than a Goffin's cockatoo, but definitely smaller than an umbrella or a Moluccan cockatoo.
Got it. What is Petey's gender? Do we know?
Petey is a male, and in cockatoos, you know that by looking at their iris color on their eye.
Oh,
So in male cockatoos, the pupil and the iris are both black. And so when you look at their eye, it's hard to distinguish the pupil from the iris. In
I
a
see.
in a female, it's either brownish or reddish, the iris of the eye.
Okay. But yeah, not all parrots are sexually dimorphic, but that's interesting. Cockatoos, you can tell by looking at them.
Which
Um,
I would never have known unless somebody told me. I wouldn't have
yeah,
noticed.
that's very subtle, but it seems like the kind of thing that once you know it, you just start looking and seeing like, aha, I can tell this. That's neat.
Yes.
Do we know how old Petey is?
Yes, he's 24 years old. And before I said that he's a smaller size cockatoo, and that's true. But as
Mm-hmm.
far as his weight, as you can see in the video on each side above his legs, he's very, very overweight. So
Yes.
we're not going by weight. We're going on how
Mhm.
big he should be. I'm not sure how much he weighs right now,
Got it.
but too much.
Is Petey tame? Oh, here comes a finger. So yes, to some degree at
Yes,
least.
he is. He's quite tame. He that's a female hand of a female human right there,
Mm-hmm.
but he very much prefers his humans to be male. He loves male humans.
Got it. Um, my next question is, do we know if Petey is good with children? If he
Petey,
has a strong sexual well, not sexual, but gender preference in humans. I'm sure he also has strong feelings
it's
about his
not,
other.
so he would love for children to talk to him when he was in his cage and to
Mm-hmm.
interact with him and maybe sing to him. He loves attention, but
Mm-hmm.
he has a pretty big beak, and probably most children would not be able to handle him safely.
Yeah, probably dangerous in a lot of situations. So yeah,
It could
good.
be, so we wouldn't
Mhm.
recommend it.
Got it. As a reminder to our audience, you can type any questions about Petey in the Q&A in Zoom or in the video chat on Facebook, and Sophia and I will do our best to answer them. You did mention Petey's weight. What does Petey eat?
Well, Petey was eating a really high fat diet in the past, but now
Mm.
he is eating pellets, and he eats a Zupreme fruit blend pellets, and he has sampled a Harrison's pellet. And he will eat fruits and vegetables as long as you're holding them for him. And we're going to show that later on in the video. He doesn't have any interest in it if you're not holding it. So he's definitely used to a lot of attention.
Got it. What are some of Petey's typical behaviors? It looked like he was kind of shouting there in the last video clip.
Right. He's a cockatoo, so he can be loud, definitely. So there he was vocalizing in that.
Mm-hmm.
But he he if he wants your attention, he's going to be loud.
Mm-hmm.
His previous owner, who rescued him from a garage, had him for 20 years, and he was with him all the time. So he's used to being with his human a lot. And if he gets what he wants, then he's not going to be as loud.
Mm-hmm. You can see it looks like he's definitely used to really interacting. He's paying a lot of attention to the person he's with there.
Yes, he used to ride around on the wheelchair with his previous owner.
Oh,
so
wow.
He's used to going all over the place with him.
Mm-hmm. How big is Petey's cage, or how big is a good size of cage for a cockatoo of his size?
Probably, I mean, we always say that the biggest cage that that fits is the best cage, but the bar size is the main factor. So I think I don't have the exact dimensions, but I believe at least a 30-inch wide cage, and the dimension on the bar spacing is probably about 3/4 inch.
Okay. And if someone has specific questions about that, we can definitely get that information to you if you're looking to adopt Petey or another cockatoo. We do have an audience question about Petey. Has Petey had blood work, i.e. how are his stats, like liver function and such? And those are we may not have the answer right offhand, but those are really good questions for a bird who's not had a great diet previously.
So he saw the vet in January at an avian vet, and he looked pretty good other than weight loss. He just needs to lose some weight. And they took off the metal band on his leg because it was too tight.
Ah, okay. All right. So a recent good checkup. That's great to hear. How did Petey come to Mickaboo?
So Petey came to Mickaboo because his owner has some mobility issues of his own and medical problems. And so he absolutely adores Petey, and Petey's, where Petey is really important to him. He spent 20 years with Petey, and they love each other, but his medical was just too much to be able to be mobile enough to take care of the bird any longer.
That's too bad, but it is the kind of reason why some birds do come to Mickaboo. So yes, a very real thing that happens with long-lived birds and the unanticipated things that happen in human lives.
It's very sad, but he does still get a few updates on Petey, so he knows Petey is okay.
Do you know, like, what are we seeing here? What's going on? It looks like the person's trying to, they're tapping on the cage. Is this trying
so
to
they're
get
trying
him
to get
step
Petey
back over?
So he's stepping up there because it's a male human, so he loves him. He'll get down on the ground and walk over to find his male human as well, and he doesn't want to get off. So he's saying, I want to stay here. Why would I want to? And the male human is very gently tapping the cage and saying, step up, which probably isn't going to work because Petey likes where he is right now.
So yeah, this is the good thing and the challenge of a bird that's really oriented to their humans right here. Because yeah, he looks very happy now, getting his cheeks scratched and everything.
Yes, he's very social, very social.
We do have a little bit of information here. We've checked, and Petey's current cage is 30 inches wide with 5/8 inch bar spacing, but that's definitely on the smaller side for a cockatoo, and it would be better for him to have a larger cage. Another audience question: does he get along with animals? And specifically, the person asking has 2 cats.
I'm not aware of any history he has with other animals, but you do need to be careful since he walks everywhere. He walks on the floor, so it could be dangerous for him in a house with cats. I don't know. I mean, obviously the cat's personality might come into play, but generally I would think it would be not safe since he walks on the ground. Yeah,
you would need to have a stringent plan for how you're going to keep the cats and the bird apart.
Exactly, that's true. He has been around other birds, however, but not any other animals for years that we're aware of.
Okay. Another audience question, this one coming in from Facebook, thanks. How does he do with nails and wing maintenance? I think wing maintenance probably means clipping, and I don't believe his wings are clipped. That's not something we generally advise unless there's a specific reason.
So his nails were trimmed when he came into Mickaboo by the foster parent, in a towel, with two people. He didn't like it, but I mean, it's doable. Mr. Towel held him in Mr. Towel, and he doesn't need wing clips because he doesn't fly. So his wings do not need to be clipped.
Yeah. Okay. Does Petey need any special care?
The special care he needs is just maybe somebody that wants to dance with him a lot, because he needs some exercise to lose those extra pounds, just like a lot of Americans do. So maybe you know, I know that I could use the I could dance all day with Petey, and that would help me too. So we all need to get moving. So that would be a good way. He loves to dance, and he's interacting with you, so he loves that. And of course, you don't want to give him a lot of junk food. We want him to eat pellets, and probably a small amount of pellets, and vegetables, lots of vegetables, and a little bit of fruit, because fruit is sugary. So we want to, and not a lot of nuts, just an occasional treat.
Sounds good.
But he does like broccoli. Just want to add that he loves broccoli.
Cool.
So there's hope.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. We are all a work in progress, including Petey's diet.
Exactly.
We are just about out of time, but before we wrap up, are there any last things you'd like to tell us about Petey? Well,
the cutest thing about Petey, he was a star when we went to the animal shelter to do an event. He just, everybody loved Petey. He danced. There was a little video earlier. That's a volunteer at the shelter, and actually a Mickaboo volunteer too, that just met Petey that day. And he just hung on him all day and danced and talked up a storm with "I love you, Petey. Hi, Petey." And so right here you go. Yeah. So he was just, everybody loved Petey. So he was the star of the show.
Oh yeah. That is a happy human and a very happy bird.
And he does talk a little. He talks and dances. So he's a very cute bird. Very, very cute. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Sophia, for introducing us to Petey. Next, we will be meeting.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Next, we are meeting a cockatiel named Michael. So, hello, Martha. Can you introduce us to Michael?
Hi, excuse me. Hi, Katie. This is Michael. He has been a Mickaboo bird for actually a very long time. He's a white-faced cockatiel, as you can see. He came to Mickaboo in 2006 and was with the same foster home for about 10 years with a companion bird, and then was adopted in 2016 to be a companion for another bird, and just recently was brought back to Mickaboo, because we always take our birds back if for any reason you can't take care of them anymore. So that's how we have Michael.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he's been around for a while.
Doing some quick math in my head. So he's been with Mickaboo for 17 years. So he's somewhere in middle age then?
Yes, we are calling him probably 23.
Okay.
But that's based on he was, I think, a surrender to a Silicon Valley shelter back in 2006. So I don't know, how accurate that is, but yeah, middle age. We'd say middle age for a cockatiel. Yeah.
Got it. As a reminder to our audience, do keep the questions coming. You can type them into the Q&A in Zoom or into the video stream on Facebook, and we'll do our best to answer them. Is Michael tame?
He is not. I believe he may have been in the past, and so I'm hoping that he can, reestablish that. But right now, I just kind of let him be.
Got it.
Yeah, he hasn't been with me all that long, so. Yeah.
I'm just realizing that if he had been in another home for a number of years, he might have only been with you for a short time now.
Yeah. Yes.
Is he good? My next question is generally, is he good with children? But probably
I would,
He's still adjusting for sure.
yes. And I feel like he, when unless birds have been really used to being around a lot of people and especially children, and have that personality already in them. Once they get to be his age, I feel like they deserve to be, maybe left alone a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, no bird wants to be poked at or, and that can be an issue sometimes with small, especially small children. So yeah. Well, I think what would be a great place for him is to go to a home where there is another male cockatiel or female, another bird that he can be a companion with, and enjoy his the years that he's got some years left, definitely. That's what I think would be a good home for him.
That makes sense. Yeah, I have a 6-year-old, so even when they're in a house that is used to animals and knows how to treat birds, they still get excited and jump around and
that's
all
natural.
kinds of things that are, I think, hard to cope with if you're not used to them. So my next question: what does Michael eat? What's he?
Well, he's
what's
eating.
He got in that bowl.
He came in eating Supreme fruity, fruit flavored pellets, which I continue to give him because you never want to just switch over a bird's diet all at once. You want to get them kind of used to something. So he gets also now some Rowdy Bush pellets and some Harrison's pellets to see, which ones of those he might like. What he gets is the Rowdy Bush nibble, which is a smaller. Cockatiels really seem to like things that are small and soft and not very challenging. So he's been getting those, and he gets a little bit of millet in the afternoon, and he gets some seed because cockatiels should get seed, and he gets salad greens in the also in the afternoon. Everybody gets their greens in the afternoon. So that's what he has a choice to nibble on as he wants.
Got it. I'm just going to bring up for our audience, because now this is 2 birds in a row where we've talked about having Supreme fruity pellets and sort of transitioning away from them. There are a couple of reasons for that. Nutritionally, there are better choices, but also the fruity pellets, almost said fruity pebbles, although it's probably true of fruity pebbles too. The dyes can change the bird's poop color, and that is a way that you can get a lot of information about a bird's health, looking at their poop. And if it's been dyed purple by the random pellets they're eating, that makes it harder to use that as an assessment tool. So
exactly. I always have a hard time with birds that are, if I have to bird sit a bird is eating those, I just feel like I can't tell what's going on with you.
There's a whole bunch of information that's just not available to you. So what are Michael's typical behaviors? Looks like he is out of his cage. We saw.
Well, I've just started letting him be out of the cage. I have just opened that one. I had the door open anyway in order to do some, to take some video, and just let him come out and see what he wanted to do. And he can fly a little bit. And in fact was able to get himself from, at one point he was on the floor and I was cleaning and I just sort of let him be. And then a little while later, next thing I know, he's back in his cage. So he can really get around. So I feel like he's in pretty good shape that way. And he knows where his cage is and he's comfortable, likes to go back to it. That's always nice when birds can get themselves home and don't mind going there. And he can do it himself, and I don't have to traumatize him by trying to throw a towel on him or something. He can So and he likes to chew on like a lot of cockatiels likes to chew on like soft balsa wood,
Mhm.
those Chinese finger traps that are made out of
Mhm.
palm leaf, nibbles on sort of that kind of, I'm using my hands like you can see me, but um, uh, sort of like confetti, crinkle paper, those kinds of
Oh,
things.
yeah,
Yeah.
the packing paper that's like the
Yeah.
little shreds that are all folded up. Yeah.
Yeah. They like a lot of those little things that they can sort of just nibble at. And so, yeah.
Mhm.
So, yes. So cockatiels like the soft stuff.
Yeah. They
Yeah,
got that little, they're pretty small birds and they're pretty gentle birds with
they are.
pretty small beaks.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So
I
he's,
think that small stuff makes them feel pretty powerful.
yeah. So there he is, just, hanging out
Mhm.
in his cage. And he is in a room with other birds
Uh-huh.
that he listens to, sometimes talks to, I
Mhm.
mean, not talking, but making
Sure.
noises at and like that.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, there you are.
Yeah. Since we're looking at him there on the edge of his cage, what size is Michael's cage?
It is like a 32-inch flight cage, 32 inches long,
Mhm.
with
Okay.
half-inch bar spacing. It's a good sized
Mhm.
cage for like a couple of cockatiels,
Yeah.
or a bunch of budgies, or a bunch. I have 9 zebra finches and another cage just like it.
Hmm.
So yeah, yeah.
Does Michael need any special care?
No, not at this point. We haven't taken him to a vet. Kind of just letting him be. He's seems to be, his droppings are good.
Mhm.
He doesn't seem to have any kind of issues climbing around or anything. So I don't feel like he needs any special care.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
We have an audience question of, will he eat any greens or veggies? I know you mentioned that you do serve some greens, but
I haven't been he does toss some of them, and I think he nibbles a little bit on them. I imagine that, I especially think that once he's with another bird, as often happens, especially with the smaller birds, that once they see another bird eating something, they'll go, oh, that's okay. I can eat that. I did make some birdie bread with some broccoli in it, that he was okay with. I don't know, maybe it wasn't cooked to his liking or something. I don't know.
maybe he's a gourmet.
He's a gourmet, yeah. But I think that he will get on. I'm thinking of some other kinds of ways of getting more vegetables into his diet. Not just him, but the other birds as well. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does he need any special care?
No. He's in good shape, I think.
Got it. So we're just about out of time, but before we wrap up, are there any last things you'd like to tell us about Michael?
I'm pretty sure, because it's new sounds coming from the bird room, but last night after the lights went out, I heard singing, some whistling that is new to me, and I think it must be him. I think it's got to be songs that he's brought to the flock. So that was really sweet. It was like just in the dark, just singing away.
Oh, neat.
Yeah. So I think the most important thing right now is sort of just letting him be, and getting used to being around other birds again, and people, and but I think he's going to make a nice companion for somebody with their bird. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Martha, for introducing us to Michael.
Thank you.
Next, we are going to meet Timeo. Hi, Julie. Can you introduce us to your foster bird?
Yes, good afternoon, Katie. So this is Timeo, or Timeo, but I do call him Timmy. And he came into Mickaboo just recently, the first week in May. We he had actually flown into a backyard in San Jose about 4 years ago, and he picked the right backyard to fly into because those folks had an outdoor aviary that also housed a couple other ringnecks. So he
Oh,
became part of their aviary. The folks did try and find, his owners, but unfortunately they were unable to do so. So he had some bird friends and was an outdoor aviary bird.
got it. And what species is he? I know there's more than one kind of ringneck.
Timmy is an Indian ringneck.
Got it. Do we know if Timmy is male or female?
He has not been DNA sex, but judging by that black ring that's around his neck, we could deduce that he is a male.
Ah, okay. So another sexually dimorphic species. Got it.
Yes.
Do we know how old Timmy is? Probably not, with the history of being a foundling, essentially.
Right. Not exactly. So we know that he's at least 4 years old because that's how long he was with his last family for. And we know, judging by his feet, that he's probably not an older bird, but he is probably hanging out somewhere in the middle. We're just not exactly sure.
Got it. And is he tame? It looks like he's somewhat tame. He kind of snatched that piece of fruit and moved away from whoever gave it to him, but then he's just sitting there looking pretty pleased eating.
He is not tame, but I got so excited in this video because that was the first time he actually took food from my hand. He had done that with his previous owners. He would, take a piece of food and then he would run away again. But he has gotten a lot better. So now whenever I go to put my hand in the cage to change his liner, he's not, flying around. He just kind of watches it go on. Whenever we're moving past the cage too, he's just watching things go on. So not getting spooked or scared anymore. And we're working on the taming, but for him to be able to take that food from my hand so quickly within being in my house, that's just been great.
Yeah, I was just thinking, that's less than a month. He looks very comfortable there. I know it sounds like he's not going to be your best friend on day one, but that's not a bird who's afraid. He's feeling comfortable and happy there, it looks like.
Yeah, he likes to watch things, and he does live, his foster sister is a 12-pound Chiweenie. So he enjoys watching her and being around, seeing other birds and animals. He would probably really like to be with some other birds since he did come from the aviary and was with birds then. So, and that was part of the reason why he was surrendered, as well as the family he was with could tell that, he just needed some other bird friends.
Yeah. So he's comfortable with your family and with the other animals in the household. And we have an audience question. Does he fly or is he clipped?
He is not clipped, and he does fly. And he's a pretty good flyer too. So he will I have a very open floor plan in my house. He'll fly from his cage, which is close to the front of the house there, all the way to the back part of the kitchen, make a big circle and come back to his cage. Sometimes he goes and flies on top of the TV and sits there for a while. And there's other places he likes to fly and look around at, but he always comes back to his cage.
Okay. Yeah. So pretty good navigator too.
Yes.
And reminder to our audience, you definitely can ask more questions about Timmy or the other birds we've met today using the Q&A in Zoom or the video chat on Facebook. What does Timmy eat? I think this is a piece of strawberry or something, I think, that he's strutting around with, but what else does he eat?
It is. He loves fruit. Strawberries and grapes are his favorite. We're trying veggies. He's good about trying things. He may not eat all of it, but at least he'll try. So he tries his carrots too. He was on a diet of seed and really loved those sunflower seeds. So we've been trying to switch him over to the Rowdy Bush pellets. And I think this week coming up, we'll be able to finalize that out and get him off of the seed and onto the Rowdy Bush, and then supplement with various fruits and vegetables.
That's great. It definitely is a big project to get a bird's diet transitioned, but it does definitely improve their health.
Definitely.
Oh, look at here, he is up on the ceiling fan, and definitely a good disclaimer on here that it can be dangerous to have a ceiling fan with birds.
Yeah.
But if you have a safety plan, it is also a ton of fun, as we're seeing here.
It is. And he loves, so this is one of the places he flies to, and I'm very thankful that we put in the disclaimer. So whenever he gets out of his cage, always make sure the fans are off, the doors are closed, the windows are safe. But what he loves to do is he'll fly up on one of the fan blades, and with his body weight and force, he kind of will propel it about 180 degrees. So he takes a half ride around, and whenever he wants to continue that ride, he'll jump from fan blade to fan blade and continue to propel himself.
Ah, smart.
Yes,
Like a kid at the playground.
exactly. He's a really smart bird.
What else? What are other things that he likes to do? What are his typical behaviors?
So he does enjoy his out time, and of course his strawberries and grapes. Other than that, he likes to take an afternoon nap, enjoys watching out the window. And one of the first nights that I had him, he was, of course, coming from an outdoor aviary that had a larger cage. So he went to being inside of a house in a smaller cage, and he was kind of pacing his cage, and I felt bad for him. I ended up turning on a Chromebook and bringing up YouTube with other Indian ringnecks, and he just stopped and just watched these Indian ringnecks on YouTube, and
Oh, wow.
so focused on them. There was one video where the Indian ringnecks were calling out, and so he was contact calling back to him as well. It was pretty cute to watch.
Oh, yeah. He does want a friend.
Yes.
We have a good audience question here, as we just saw him take off a minute ago. How do you keep the windows safe when he's out?
I have about 4 large glass picture windows. So I only have drapes on one of them. Whenever he is out, I have the drapes partially pulled on that one window, but on the other windows, I have the 3x3 Post-it notes just kind of scattered around on the windows. And there was one time where he actually, the first time he went flying towards the kitchen window, I got really scared, but those Post-it notes work like a charm. It's something that we recommend with Mickaboo. And he turned around and came right back, never touched that window, didn't get close. So Post-it notes up on the window are a dream.
Yeah, makes a visual barrier for them.
Yes.
How big is his cage?
He is in a flight cage right now, and it is approximately 36 inches in height, about 32 inches in length, and 22 inches in width. I'm sorry, 20 inches in width, but I would like to see him being just a little bit bigger width cage, maybe 22 inches minimum.
Yeah, that long tail. He needs some space to.
He does.
Yeah, be able to turn around. Does Timmy need any kind of special care?
No special care. He does have, and I'm not sure if you can see it in the video or not, there's one of his claws that is missing on his foot, and it doesn't seem like it causes him any issue or pain. He uses his foot to eat with. He can hold on to perches very well. So no special care, just kept an eye on that. He seems to be in fairly good health. His droppings are looking good, and he doesn't have any other signs of any illness, luckily.
That's great. Before we move on to our next bird, are there any last things you'd like to tell us about Timmy?
I have a funny story. So once again, he has been in my house for just a short period of time, and within that probably into the first week or beginning of the second week, we were watching a movie on TV. He does enjoy watching TV. And in the movie, they started going into like a birthday party and playing salsa music. And he just went crazy. He got so riled up and started whistling back to him and just getting so excited. So I've determined that he likes to play, or if he likes to listen to salsa music, I'll leave that on sometimes on the Echo device whenever I leave him for a little bit to give him something to listen to.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Julie, for introducing us to Timmy. He sounds like a really fantastic little guy who will enjoy ideally a home with another ringneck companion.
Indeed, he is a super neat little bird. He's awesome. Thank
Great,
you.
thanks so much. Next, we will meet Tequila, a green cheek conure. Hi, Sarah. Can you introduce us to Tequila?
Hello, Katie. Yeah, this is Tequila. She's a super sweet little yellow-sided green cheek conure.
Oh, do we know if Tequila is male or female?
We don't. We're going with female. She has been seen by a vet, and they just did a little visual comment whilst they were doing their physical exam. There's no way to know without doing a DNA test. We don't do those unless it's medically necessary, so we don't know for sure. We're just going with she. Tequila is a pretty neutral name, and I don't think she minds either way. So yeah, we're going with she, but we don't know for sure.
I don't know. Somehow looking at her, I think this is a young bird. Do we have any idea of how old Tequila is?
We think she's about 4. We did get,
Oh.
yeah, we got some information from the previous owner, and I think she bought them. She had 3 birds, and she got them all around about the same time. I think they were all 4.
Got it. And my next question is Tequila tame? And I can see the answer must be yes to some degree.
Yeah,
Watching this video.
Yeah, she's super friendly. She really likes to have company and attention. She loves to be out on your shoulder. If you walk by, she talks as well, and she'll say Tequila, and she'll start making little green cheek conure squeaks to get your attention. And you can see the excited dancing. There's no music playing. She's just really thrilled that she's out with her people. And you know, the 2 of us were in the room here, and she's kind of dancing on my husband's feet, and then she kind of struts up and down his legs a few times. And yeah, like, she's not afraid of hands, and she loves to be out with people. She'll sit on your shoulder quite happily. She's very friendly. The first day that I took her out, she was very beaky, but she'd just been moved from her only home that she knew, and she was very unsure what was happening. So that was a big change, and we just kind of gave her a lot of space. But within another couple of days, she was really friendly and stepping up and just wanted to hang out.
Oh yeah. Just like, yeah, I'll use your finger to rub my head.
Yeah, she does a lot of
Not
beak
so
wiping.
interested in stepping up, it looks like.
No, she was happy with the feet, but
Mhm.
she will step up. She's been pretty easy to handle since we got to know each other.
Mhm. We have an audience question about Tequila. Well, a general audience question. What's the life expectancy of a green cheek conure?
With good diet and good care, green cheek conures can live up to 30, even 35 years.
Okay, so yeah, 4 years is a young bird.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them don't make it that far because we see a lot of them come in with seed diet, and Tequila was on a seed diet. It's really important that they get fresh veggies every day and a blend of pellets. So we've been working, and her diet has improved a lot. But yeah, if you just get them an all seed diet, then they're going to end up with heart disease and, you know, the need for daily medication, you know, more in their middle age. So, you know, most conures won't make it to 30 or 35 unless they really have an exemplary lifestyle with a lot of exercise and healthy fresh food, as well as pellets, not just a seed mix. And that's really important to frame the life expectancy part. And then a lot of, unfortunately, in captivity, a lot of conures don't make it to that age because of accidents, you know, interactions with other pets. Falling asleep on your bird is very dangerous. They, you know, they're very small and fragile. So yeah, we see a lot of birds coming in that have suffered from those accidents and survived but need medical help. So yeah, there's a lot of things that contribute to life expectancy. But yeah, 30 years is absolutely possible with the right home.
Got it. And as a reminder to our audience, if you have other questions, you can type them in the Q&A in Zoom or right into the video feed on Facebook. Do we know if Tequila is good with children?
We haven't had any experience. So she only came in the end of April 30th. Okay. So she's very new to Mickaboo, and we haven't had any kids around her. She is pretty friendly. So I'd say with older children who know to not be too high energy, don't make sudden movements, be gentle. I'm pretty sure she'd happily shoulder surf on them or hang out on their arm. I'd be careful with younger children. It goes both ways. If she felt threatened, then she might get beaky. But also, really young kids, it's really up to the adults to make sure that they're holding them safely. They have very fragile feet and legs, and we want to be careful. But yeah, with the right supervision and handling, she is a pretty friendly bird. So once she gets to know you, I think she could have good experiences with kids that were, given good advice on how to interact with her.
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you. What are Tequila's typical behaviors? It looks like she's definitely delighted to be out hanging out with the humans that she knows and is comfortable with.
Yeah, lots of fun interaction and dancing. You can see there's a lot of excited head bobbing and dancing. She does enjoy chewing on palm shredder toys. She's got a palm shredder toy in her cage, which is her favorite thing, and she's slowly ripping it to pieces. But she is pretty happy hanging out on your shoulder, going where you go. So lots of attention and just enrichment by having things to look at and being with you and talking to you. I think she could learn a lot more words because she says tequila pretty clearly, and she probably says other things that I just haven't had the opportunity to figure out yet as well. She's pretty interested in squeaking to get your attention and making vocalizations. So I think she'd be a great candidate for, enrichment programs, teaching her new words, teaching her, there's a lot of little trick toys that you can get for birds to get them to put rings on a little acrylic hoop or put a ball through a hoop. And I think that kind of thing would be really fun for her. She's very comfortable interacting with people. So giving her little fun games to play, I think could be a lot of fun for her.
Got it. We have a question from Facebook. How is her flight? I think that means flying skill.
Right. Her wings have got a funny trim right now. I don't know if you can see in the video, but her left wing is trimmed and her right wing is not. I think maybe she might have had a wing trim that was a bit interesting. We don't recommend doing one-sided wing trims. I don't know if that's just because it's partly grown out or if that was just, someone who didn't understand the implications of doing a one-sided wing trim that could really, that's not helpful for the bird. They can't fly straight. She can fly.
A balance problem, I would think.
Yeah, we don't recommend that. But she can fly. She's flown to her cage. She hasn't flown to me from her cage. But unfortunately, in the last week, I've been bird sitting another bird that's quarantined in my office up here. So she's been very sad. She hasn't had as much out time the last week. She'll get back out again next week when the bird sitting finishes. But she can fly. But most of the time, she just likes strutting about either on top of her cage or getting onto you. I think she might do more flying once her wings are evened out.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Speaking of cages, how big is her cage, or how big is a good sized cage for a green cheek?
So for conures, we recommend that their cage is at least 24 inches by 24. She came in a small cage. So I don't know if you can see it in this video clip. It's on the back at the right there. It's a bit of a house style. It's really more of a budgie cage. And even for budgies, it's taller than it is wide. And we would usually recommend that the cage, the most important dimension is the width, because birds, even when they, if they fly forwards, not up. So they really need a nice wide cage. So I'd love to see her in something like an HQ flight cage, which is about 30 inches wide and 21 inches deep.
Something similar to what we saw Michael in earlier.
Yes, something like that. That would be a great size for her. She does enjoy out time, and that's important for enrichment, not just exercise. But that would be a really good cage for her. The cage that you can see in the back there, she got moved in with that for pure logistical reasons. She's still living in that right now, but we're doing a 30-day AGY check because she was living with 2 budgies, which we don't recommend, but the former owner had housed her in the same cage as 2 budgies. Unfortunately, one of them was very sick and passed away within a day of the birds coming into Mickaboo. We noticed straight away something was off when we rushed all 3 of them to the vet to get checked out, and he didn't make it. The other budgie is getting medication for AGY, avian gastric yeast, for 30 days, and we'll do a check on Tequila in 30 days. Well, I think it's going to be less than 2 weeks now. And it's not very common in conures, so we're not medicating, but we'll check just to make sure that it hasn't been picked up. Anyway, she deserves and will get placed into a bigger cage as we play musical birds here and get everyone moved into longer term foster homes. I was a kind of a landing spot to get all 3 birds in and figure out what was going on with the one that didn't look well. And then she'll get placed with a foster home that can give her a lot more care and attention until we get her adopted out. I don't think it's going to take very long though, because she's so friendly.
She's very cute. She is very cute.
You know, you talk about the perfect bird. I think the hard part for her is going to be every time you walk past her, you're going to want to take her out and spend time with her, even when you probably have things that you need to do.
So you did mention that she's in the middle of a 30-day watch period, just to make sure that she didn't get avian gastric yeast, which would be unusual, but not impossible for a conure. Beyond that, do you anticipate that she needs any other special care?
No, she should have an annual health check, which is really important because birds do hide their illness. So, you know, watching their poop and weighing them regularly. She's on the lower side. She's 68 grams, which is pretty low for conure. You know, somewhere in the 70s is usually what we expect. She might just be small. So keep an eye on her weight, keep working on her diet. She does eat fresh veggies. She's picked up bell peppers, a little bit of carrot, and obviously she does enjoy fruit. That's the easy stuff. And we're getting her to eat nutrient cakes, which are a nice stepping stone away from a seed mix. They have seeds in them. And she picks up chunks of those in her feet and holds them and nibbles on them. And then there's pellets in there too. So she has eaten some pellets. We're giving her a bit of pellet and the nutrient cake crumbled up. And I'm still putting a bit of seed mix in there just because I don't want her to starve. And she's a little on the lower side weight-wise anyway. That's a work in progress, and getting her onto nutrient cakes and pellets fully would be really good for her.
So in just a moment, you and I are going to discuss some other birds that are also living in your house right now. But before we move on, are there any last things you'd like to tell us about Tequila?
I haven't been saving a funny story.
That's okay.
But the dancing and saying her name, Tequila, is very sweet. It took me a couple of days to realize she was saying her name, and once I realized, it's as clear as day. So yeah, I think she would pick up some more words, and she's gonna have a great time with someone that will happily hang out with her. She's a very sweet bird, and you have to be very careful not to get too attached when you're fostering. It'll be very easy just to adopt everybody that comes through. You know, I'm always caveating with people, you know, there's no such thing as a perfect bird. She will beak your jewelry. If she's on your shoulder and you're wearing earrings, she'll beak at your stuff. So, you know, that would be something to watch out for. But other than that, she's really fun to have. Just if you're working at your desk and you need a coworker, I think she would be a great applicant and candidate for the job.
Well, wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing her with us. And now, if we can turn to Emerson and Finley, a pair of wild conures who are also living in your home. Can you introduce us to these two?
Yeah, this is Emerson and Finley. They're a pair of wild conures, which means they came from wild flocks that live around the Bay Area here. And they both got injured in separate accidents and ended up getting rescued, taken into shelters, and then we took them to the vet when the shelters reached out to us. So that's Emerson on the left, and on the right, looking very cautious, is Finley.
With some red. Finley's the one with some red.
No, Emerson
Oh,
is the one
okay.
that has the red patch right above his
Okay.
beak, and then Finley on the right is the one that is mostly green with just teeny tiny little red sprinkles.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
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 What species are they? When I think of wild parrots in the Bay Area, I think of the parrots of Telegraph Hill.
Yeah, and most people do. They're actually not from San Francisco. There are a couple of other flocks of wild conures that are living in the same general area. So in Palo Alto, there's a pretty small flock of more mitered conures, which, you know, I'm sure there's lots of theories about where they originated from, but the locals all seem pretty confident that it was a local pet store at the time that a bunch of mitered conures escaped out of. And then in Sunnyvale, there's a flock of about 30 to 35 wild conures, and they again seem more mitered compared to the San Francisco flock, which is mostly cherryhead conures or red masked parakeets, as we call them, with a little bit of mitered. So there are some mitered parrots in that flock, but they have a much more dominant cherryhead set of traits, whereas the Palo Alto and the Sunnyvale conures are much more mitered in appearance and size, and also vocalizations. They don't speak the same language. Their vocalizations are a bit more higher pitched. And I use the word harsh, which they sound different. And, you know, even just one scream is enough to differentiate between them. The cherryhead vocalizations sound a bit sort of flatter and cleaner to me, and the mitered ones sound a bit more rough around the edges. I don't know how else to describe it. We don't have the audio on here. But I will say that Emerson and Finley, they're the last cage in the room. When I go around doing breakfast in the mornings, I go clockwise around the room and their cage is last. And by the time I get to them, they're so upset that everyone else is eating and they don't have their breakfast yet. They're both yelling. I should probably go the other way around because they're probably the loudest at that point. Although they might just be really hungry and telling me that, which is fair.
You could just start some different places in the room and run a little experiment there.
I could.
Do we know if they are male or female?
We don't. I call Emerson he and Finley she most of the time, but we have absolutely nothing to base that on at all. We don't do DNA sexting unless there's a medical reason. And with the wild parrots, we tend to find they don't have hormonal issues nearly as much as we see with captive birds that have been captive bred and hand fed. I'm not sure why that is, but it means that most of the time, yeah, we really don't know. And they don't seem to care. We have, in the past, there have been people who adopted pairs and did pay for DNA sexing and discovered that it turned out they were both female or both male. So it tends to be random, but there is an element of letting them choose. You know, we can't just put two birds in a cage and expect we'll get along. We've had to do kind of matchmaking sessions to see which conures like who. I tried these two together once they were both living with me because they were both not from the San Francisco flock, and we know that they are really not into people, so they really needed a bird friend. And I figured that given that they have similar injuries and similar levels of mobility, and they're both more mitered than everyone else in my foster care, they're all from the San Francisco cherryhead flock. I figured it was worth a shot to put these two together, and they immediately liked each other and paired up and started preening each other and roosting on the same perch, and they were like two peas in a pod. But it was actually a problem. Emerson was over preening Finley, and Finley's chest feathers started getting a little thinned out.
Oh no.
So I had to separate them again for a short while and then reconfigure things so that the cage they're in now, this green one, is a bit bigger. And we sort of put a few more toys in there, like chew toys, using coffee filters and Dixie cups and things, which are really easy to restock onto the toys for them. Emerson really likes chewing on those. So with more space,
better than your buddy.
yeah, like Finley's feathers are not a chew toy, so with a bit more refilling of those and a bit more space, it's worked out great. And they spent all day together.
So would we recommend that they be adopted together? Do they need to be adopted together?
Yeah, 100%. They should stay together. They really don't have any interest in people. You can see in this footage, they're really just eyeing me suspiciously from the back of their cage. I tend to let them be. I'm not trying to befriend them because I don't think they need or want that. They're the only wild parrots. I've got 12 from the San Francisco flock in my bird room, and then these guys, and they're the only birds here that won't take a treat from my fingers. They're interested in it and they want, a piece of walnut or something is attractive to them, but they really want me to just drop it in the food dish and step back, and then they scoot down immediately and go and grab it. So, they watch my every move closely. They're always watching where my hands are and what's in my hands. And they prefer me to keep my distance. So they don't, they should stay together because they're each other's enrichment and company and a sense of security. And they do a lot more in this cage than just sit there staring at the bars cautiously. The presence of my phone recording them has kind of put them on edge in these videos. So
well, and you're standing right behind.
I'm
so
right
it's like
up.
a double offense.
Yes, I don't normally spend long periods of time staring intently at them, right up against their cage. So they're really looking at me like, what are you doing? This is not normal. Emerson really loves that swing you can see on the right. And I did try to get footage of him. He was hanging around on it and being a clown and kind of climbing right up on the top of it and swinging it around wildly, and is definitely one of his favorite things in there. But the moment I came over to take a video, the moment I got close with my phone, he immediately ran to the back of the cage to keep an eye on me. So you'll just have to take my word for it that he really likes that swing, because I can't get any footage of him. In fact, that's the swing.
Oh, there, it's moving.
It's still swinging. That was when he ran away. And then Finley came up to be with him to comfort him, and they sought refuge in each other because I'd come over with my big scary phone. So
they have that really skinny look that
they go all flat
get when they're feeling nervous. They slip their feathers right down to their bodies.
Their feather posture is very much communicating, caution, danger right now. And Emerson's giving me a lot of side eye. So and here I think this little clip is Finley was taking a bath. So Finley's on the right there looking really soggy. And I was trying again to get a video of Finley taking a bath. And the moment I did, she ran up the side of the cage to the back. And they're both staring at me.
We don't know what you're talking about.
Keep running over and staring at me. But Finley's a very vigorous daily bather. It's usually about 1 p.m. Jumps straight in the water bowl and pretty much empties it.
So I'm going to blow through my next two questions really quickly. Are they tame? No. Are they good with children? No. They are, these are birds who like each other and have, they're all right with living with you.
And I'll say in their favor that makes them very low maintenance. They're happy with each other and just restock their toys and keep their food coming and give them a lot of space, and they'll be very happy. And I think over time, as they get to know you, they would get more comfortable with you approaching the cage. I'm not working with them. I'm not doing any routine with them. They're safe here, and the fact that they met each other through foster care here has been a great start. It's been a journey. They came in about a year apart. The only thing that I would highlight in terms of potential, maintenance and being a good home for them is that Emerson had a seizure, which was in March 2022. So they both had a big high impact trauma, physical trauma, like they smacked into a car or a building or something at high speed. So they have common injuries that Emerson came from the Palo Alto flock, Finley came from the Sunnyvale flock, but they had similar injuries that resulted in them ending up in care. They both had a shattered leg and wing from their injury and their impact, and recovered. But Emerson's head trauma was pretty severe, and our theory is that this was a latent thing he had this big seizure where, I found him at the bottom of the cage, and I actually thought I was going to lose him in my hands when I scooped him up, but
Oh.
he was still breathing. So I rushed to the vet right away.
Mhm.
And fortunately they were able to see him right away, and they put him in an incubator, gave him some Valium, put him on oxygen, and he came out of the seizure. But they told me in the parking lot they didn't think he was going to make it based on how he was presenting when I arrived. But then
Wow.
they called me a couple hours later and said, "You're not going to believe this, but he's standing up and he's walking around his incubator and he wants out."
Wow.
So yeah, and he hasn't had another one since. And
Hmm.
it's been over a year now. So I don't want to jinx it, touch wood. I hope that was a one-off, but it was very,
Yeah.
very scary.
Yeah.
I really thought we were going to lose him.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's, obviously there's no way to predict those kinds of things, and it could happen again.
Yeah.
So you would want to know what your emergency vet options were and how to get a hold of
Mhm.
them and where to go,
Mhm.
because time makes all the difference with events like that.
Yeah,
They
for
actually
sure.
they sent me home with some Valium shots just in case he had another one, because the faster you can stop the seizure, and better chance that he
Mhm.
can recover. Yeah.
So you mentioned injury, like pretty severe injuries. Were those the reasons that they both came into Mickaboo? I mean, I know they came from separate flocks at separate times, but was that their
Yeah.
sort of their origin story with Mickaboo, was through their
Yes.
injuries?
They were both found by members of the public looking injured on the ground and taken to shelters. And then the shelters reached out to us asking if we could help, and we took them in.
Mhm.
And paid for their vet care. Finley was in the hospital for months, and
Oh.
the wing injury was pretty severe. It was pretty shattered, and the surgery, the initial surgery involved a lot of blood loss, and the vet said it was pretty touch and go whether or not she could have survived that. But it's funny, they're fragile in some ways and really tough in others, and she made it through the first few days, and then every day it was just, another step of recovery. And,
Mhm.
they both have a droopy wing as a result. Those wings they're, uh, they're, I don't think they're causing them any pain, but they are not normal. You can see looking at them, they have one wing that droops quite a lot, and they could never survive in the wild.
Yeah.
There's no option of returning them home.
Mhm.
But they have a good quality of life. They don't need a particularly specially adapted cage. They can perch just fine.
Mhm.
So they've got swings and wood perches and rope perches and a normal size cage, and they make use of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty amazing success story for each of them of,
Yeah, it's about the happiest ending.
surviving and now thriving.
Yeah, I'm so glad they found each other. We don't get a lot of birds from either of those flocks. They tend to be smaller enough, and in the city there are other dangers and risks to the birds in terms
Mhm.
of the buildings and the bromethalin rat poison issue. We don't see that so much with Palo Alto and Sunnyvale. So
Mhm.
it was just by sheer coincidence that we ended up with one from each flock, um and given the circumstances, they're perfectly happy to get along with each other.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, very fortunate.
it's really sweet to see them together. So I'm glad that they found each other, and they're doing really well given everything they've been through.
Yeah. Well, we are out of time, but are there any last things you'd like to tell us about Emerson and Finley?
They should have annual vet checks because of their medical history.
Yeah.
And Finley occasionally needs a beak trim. You can see her beak is a little misshapen. It's kind of flatter on the top. That relates to her original injury, and there's a sort of little pointy bit sticking out halfway down. So it does benefit from a little bit of shaping, but it's not very frequent, and it's something that any avian vet could help you with.
Right. Well, thank you, Sarah, for introducing us to Emerson and Finley. What a great way to end this virtual adoption fair. So those are all the birds that we have for today's virtual adoption fair, but we do have time for a few more questions. I know we don't have any more outstanding questions right at the moment, But if you do have more questions, please let us know via the Q&A tab or the Facebook video feed. If you fell in love with any of these birds, please do contact us. If you haven't started the adoption process, you can get started tomorrow by signing up for our basic bird care class at mickaboo.org, and it's being held tomorrow, and then every 2 to 3 weeks. If nobody here seemed like the right bird, do take a look at the others on our website at mickaboo.org. There are a lot more birds who need forever homes. A couple more things before we sign off. First, if you would like to support the birds you saw today and the others you didn't, it's easy to donate using the links on our Linktree page, which you'll see up here at my left. If you haven't taken the bird care class, you can sign up tomorrow. Please do take the survey we're going to share with you about this event so we can take any feedback to help us improve. And really, I'd like to mention just once again, if you are interested in donating, Emerson and Finley, who we just met, are 2 examples of the way that our vet bills can mount rapidly, and what a worthwhile, worthy effort it is to spend that money and care for these birds so they can have a really great quality of life if they get that help to become healthy again. Last of all, I'd like to thank all the foster parents and their birds and all the other volunteers who provided technical support today. It takes a lot of work to keep this event running smoothly, and everyone did a fantastic job. Please stick with us through the credits to see who they all were, and we'll keep monitoring the Q&A for a bit longer in case you have questions we haven't answered yet. Thanks for attending our May 2023 Adoption Fair, and goodbye for now.